Well, welcome to the last of track one today on Making Your Tech and Cyber Career Flourish 2023. We have Aaron Lax, who will be joining and sharing his own adventures within tech and cyber and talking about the real cybersecurity community and our future needs. I'll pass it off to you, Aaron.
All right, well, thanks, Christoph. And everybody, welcome. I just want to first start off by saying thank you to all the sponsors. And it's a great thing that we're doing here for the community and for the different organizations that we're devoting this money to, the charities. And so basically, yeah, like Christoph said, my speech is going to be about the real cybersecurity community and the future needs. So let me just start off with a background on myself. I'm actually, like, I would say, kind of a mixed bag in regards to cybersecurity. So I'm not your average cybersecurity professional. I definitely started out in, well, actually, started out in SQL development. So I was a PL SQL developer. I then moved into actual development with Python, Python, Java, PL SQL still, and JavaScript, Node, Angular, React, all those. I built the multiple websites for the Arkansas Supreme Court, including the case management system, and did a bunch of work for them in regards to that, as well as arcourts.gov. It's their main website. So, and then I moved into server administration. From server administration, I first started out at an engineering company, which actually was never put into an NDA, but so I can actually talk about what I did, and it involved the infrastructure of this, basically the entire United States. So we had a major electrical provider in which we did the dams and all of the electrical surplus for the majority of the southern United States. We also did the Department of Transportation for 37 states, the Department of Transportation for the US Department of Transportation. We did the Army Corps of Engineers. We had the border wall. We also did something regarding Air Force One. I can't really go into that one. And SpaceX, we built the launch platform for SpaceX. So it was an interesting insight into the infrastructure of the world. Well, at least the United States, and the rest of the world is very similar. From there, I've moved into server administration. So like Angelique said, majority of us kind of started in server administration. I started in system development, but I am now a server administrator, for the largest supplier of eggs and chickens to the entire world, actually. We cover all of North America, all of South America, Central America, and some of Europe, and it's actually quite an interesting position. So that gave me insight into the supply chain, as well as other things that we're just experiencing the difficulties in every part of what I've had to deal with. And it has driven me to, I guess, want to change the world to a degree, want to change cybersecurity to a degree, and just change things in which need to be changed because we see them failing constantly. We've watched last year, I think the total was $347 to $360 billion given to cybercrime, or at least to ransomware alone, probably more to the rest of cybercrime. And we've seen just these cyber criminals take over systems with ease. And that is in a good portion of this is because of the way that cybersecurity is now being done. And that's As Angelique stated, and as other people have stated, you take the classes, you come in, you have very limited knowledge. You don't have the hands-on experience, you don't have the background, and so you're put in charge of protecting these systems, but you don't have the knowledge of the true system that you're trying to protect. So yeah, that's a problem that we all are facing in this world right now. And so the cybersecurity community, I first started getting truly interested in it when I was doing development for the Supreme Court, because I was put in charge of one of their projects that was a very large project in which, well, it basically was going to take their entire case management system and make it available to the internal staff. And then you could also hit it externally and it would look completely similar, but not have the capabilities to enter the data into the website and or manipulate the data. And basically from that experience, I was able to see that right now, well, at least 6 years ago when I was doing that, that JavaScript had some major flaws, and it still does. I mean, just in the way it's done, just because you're having to make a profit, basically. So the majority of the world is operating on a profit basis, as we know. And so these companies are putting out the products in an effort to make profit. Therefore, they're kind of neglecting every step that needs to be taken in order to protect it from the outside world. That combined with the fact that a lot of these products are built with just the knowledge of the top end, and you don't ever have the knowledge of the back end. And so you're getting hit by the back end, and it makes its way, or you're getting hit through multiple levels, but it makes its way and it hits the back and hits further even back. And so it's a convoluted system that just is needing a lot of change and a lot of education. So like Angelique has said, and others have said, do the trainings. There are so many trainings out there now available. There's the majority of training that I would recommend is actually through GitHub. You can do a lot of finding through GitHub. However, you do need a hands-on approach. And so that's something that GitHub does not offer. And so definitely hit something that where you can have a practice server, to where you can have a practice VM in order to get your training done. And so basically you're not having to learn upon entering the position that you're wanting to achieve. So yeah, it's a world that we have lived in, and it needs to be changed in the sense that right now so I just changed jobs as of 3 months ago, and it's a learning curve. There's a 6-month, 7th-month learning curve at every new position you go to because of the different technologies. If organizations that are competitors would work together and actually implement a standard in which people could transition jobs and maintain the same level that they were at the previous position, things would be much more successful. We've actually seen recently steps towards this being implemented. However, it has not yet been in any way done so. So I'll give an example. I mean, Aruba switches versus Dell switches, very similar, but very different commands. So you're just having to learn every new system upon entering them, and it's very complex in which you're having to deal with architectures of so many different systems. It depends on how big your environment is, obviously, but once you enter a big enough environment, you're spending a long time just learning, even if you're advanced, even if you're an expert in the system already. So the future needs are just great. I mean, well, we've experienced today's talks in which cybersecurity has experienced two things that have changed quite a bit, and that is AI and quantum computing. Both of those are going to revolutionize and change cybersecurity in ways that we cannot even fathom right now. It's actually one of the, this is going to be the main portion of my talk, and that's, well, we've seen Chat GPT, well, GPT-3 itself launched January 9th, and that system itself has been used both for good and bad, as we've seen reactions, both good and bad. But it's that adoption technique that's always failed. So AI is not new, at least what we're calling AI. You had IBM Watson, which is now in a museum behind glass because it's literally, I think, 16 to 17 years old, if not older than that. And after that, you had AlphaGo. You had AlphaGo that then beat the champion by having trained itself. And you have DeepMind that is developing protein folding and has recently actually found a slower reversal of liver cancer as of yesterday or the day before, I forget which one. And then we have Chat GPT enter, in which that is the first publicly available one. And so that is going to be, that is what's different about it, obviously, in that it's publicly available. People are training it. However, at the same time, it's training itself in that you have the Chrome extension that brings it into Google. And so literally every single search that you have is pulling the data that it is crawling through and pulling it into GPT-3, in which in data analysis, well, probably AI in itself, data and analytics will take and then pull out and propagate the proper data sets for future conversations that GPT-3, GPT-4, Chat GPT itself needs. With the purchase of Microsoft and Bing, obviously, and GPT-4 is going to be immense, because I think right now, from what I read, I believe it's something like a 72 terabyte database. When you integrate Microsoft's Bing into that, you have the entire internet being stored within the system. And so that is going to completely revolutionize the way, well, text and, well, text, basically language report. Not actually, it just went off the top of my head, sorry, but language recognition and language output is going to be spitting back out the correct data for you, so that, well, right now, as we know, Stack Overflow is not allowing ChatGPT to be posted into it due to the fact that there are still mistakes. It is not a perfect system, and until it's trained enough, it can't be. That is where the fear comes in. That is where the lack of fear needs to be. So that artificial intelligence is a very powerful tool in which we are experiencing right now still what is called deep learning. It is not actually as a true AI, as I commented earlier. True AI is obviously a computer thinking as if a person is thinking. However, that itself, we're still quite a ways away from. We're in a deep learning phase of AI, which is a bunch of data sets using entropy, well, mathematical entropy, which is basically choosing the most correct answer and spitting back the data for you correctly in its own mathematical format. It's quite complex. Let's just say the mathematics behind it. I scored perfect in ACT and SAT, and it's still complex for me. And it's quite advanced science and quite advanced mathematics, and so it's impressive, and it's a good thing to see. And we can't have fear in regards to it. That's the main thing, because we've seen companies such as the EDR systems of, let's say, Darktrace, of Sophos, all using machine learning, all using these artificial intelligences to actually protect the systems. And yes, the artificial intelligence can at the same time be used to create the malware that is attacking these systems. However, the same data sets would have to be used, therefore they'd be protected against that attack if it was using the same artificial intelligence behind it. We then have, of course, as I said, the quantum emergence, which Malik spoke about earlier, and that's going to revolutionize a whole different aspect of the world. And that's because we have quantum machines, which if you run a quantum computer, you'll notice that Microsoft Word would run exactly the same. It's not anything more advanced. The only thing more advanced is that we're taking the data, we're splitting it into multiple parts, and we're throwing it through several dimensions that is quantum mechanics. And we're then able to achieve the results of any mathematical formula at a significant, well, exponentially significant rate. And so basically what they've claimed already, the Chinese claimed it as of 3 weeks ago, that RSA 2048, that is most likely probably true. It is unfortunate, but these are mathematical problems that are protecting us, and these systems are capable of generating these answers so quickly that it is 100% guaranteed that it will be broken. It is just a matter of time and how long these systems have been active. Yeah, sure, we've had the recent revelations of them being announced publicly, but that doesn't include private or institutions. IBM's had one for quite a while. However, it doesn't include governments as well either. I know that the government has contracted with D-Wave, as D-Wave has been in major talks for quantum computing for a long time now. And so it's come to a point where we don't really know how long quantum computers have been in the government side, and we don't know how long they've actually been in use. We know how long they've been publicly used, and therefore that's the threat, in that we could very well already have been completely breached in the internet. And the only people that we're truly worried about now are these threat actors that continue to hit us. But if they're behind the state, everything they're stealing has been decoded, and therefore we're at an endpoint that all our data is completely in a new system that is decoded. So we need to change that, and it's a scary situation. So I consult with several companies. One of them, Dark Kryptonite, another Aquid, another is Dragon Chain, and another is Red Sky Alliance. Red Sky Alliance is the one kind of odd man out, and also integrate with Cloudface. The three of those, so Cloudface, Dragon Chain, and Aquid, all have quantum encryption, basically a quantum algorithm that will allow for RSA power 10 times 12 to the power of 1048, I believe. Some exponentially large number that just isn't, so far has been uncrackable by DoD and Mossad, at least, quantum computers. And it has led to a revolution that the blockchain has been a state in which we can use to protect ourselves against the quantum machines due to the way that it transmits the data, due to the basically the algorithm that was generated by a very smart doctor, who I can't name, unfortunately, but he's produced this algorithm that can allow for the change of the system to allow for quantum encryption of an immense capabilities of protecting yourself against quantum. Dark Kryptonite is doing it a completely different way. They're doing it, and I can't speak to theirs at all, really. It's just a proprietary way. They have a manner of which protecting the data, but it has also protected the data upon transmission. So we're in a world where if the data is at all transmitted, or if your computer has been hit at all and you have a man in your side of your system, you are dealing with things that have 100% been potentially decoded or in the future will be decoded. And that is obviously what these cybersecurity actors are doing. And that is, they're taking this data, they're attacking it, they're getting all the data, even if it's encrypted, and they're waiting for the time in which they can decrypt it. And that time has now approached, and it's here. And while people didn't really think that was going to be possible, they thought it was still a couple of years down the road. It has arrived. As you heard Malik say, she owns herself a two qubit quantum computer. And so that in itself is just, that's a public company that owns the capability to do immense mathematics in a completely revolutionary way. However, at the same time, like I said, quantum computers are only good at the mathematical side of things. Therefore, we've also seen those quantum computers tied into supercomputers, in which a supercomputer is the brains that are making the rest of it as fast as the mathematical portion that the quantum side is doing. So with those two capabilities tied together, you have an infinitely, well, I'm trying to find the right word, exponentially faster system that makes it a new world, let's just put it that way, in which we're living in a situation where we can do things that we've never been able to do, such as a recent one is the creation of synthetic DNA. Another is the potential to map dark matter. There are so many capabilities that this gives us, and therefore the integration of quantum computers and AI together is going to revolutionize things, because that allows for the data sets to be analyzed from the quantum computer and further the systems beyond anything. And so we're able to completely revolutionize the human race and everything in the world. And so it's going to be very insane. I just saw Paul Cummings post something, but we're in a world where AI is going to be a very intense and game-changing situation. So the future needs. AI is a future need. It's also going to be a future concern for many of us. I fear that a lot of people that are entering the field may find that soon AI is something that they're competing against. And that's an unfortunate side effect, but it's also a side effect that in all reality will probably end up protecting the human race and protecting everything we've thus far failed to protect. And so that in itself is a good thing. And that's one reason not to fear it. But we have other people that are fearing it because of global domination, robotics, takeover. Yes, all those things are possible. I mean, you've seen your first McDonald's automated completely, other than one person in the entire McDonald's working, and that is literally just to ensure the machine is properly functioning. So the economy is going to take an adjustment as well, and it will be interesting to see. But at the same time, it will require us as humans to adjust and move into a new area of our lives. So data analytics is going to be huge. Training for every different aspect of life, as far as you're basically for any aspect of your life, it can be adjusted due to the way that quantum and AI are now operating. I mean, you're watching students now write essays with chat GPT. You're watching, like I just mentioned, DNA being created with quantum computers and deep learning. And so it's just an amazing and scary, but at the same time, you cannot let that scariness eliminate the technology itself. You have to allow it to progress, or we're going to continue to see these attacks, and we're going to continue to see just change after change after change where we're the victims. And so that is one thing that myself I cannot stand. I'm the type that actually has spent my life, as I said, working in a way towards making a change to where I can do things to where it's not like that, and so that I can actually help people and can actually network and collaborate with other people. So that is a major future need of cybersecurity, and that is one of what I've been told a benefit of mine is that I don't know if it's a public speaking, because obviously you hear me say quite a bit, you hear me not murmur, da da da, but at the same time I'm able to connect with people, and I guess that is the most important thing in the world right now, because previously we've been siloed in different areas, and so these people are, well, the different silos are getting expert opinions from within that silo, but that silo never makes it to the other silo, so you're getting attacked on this side where it could be protected if they were sharing knowledge. Therefore, I've put together several groups of what I would consider the top minds in the world, and have done that so that we can communicate with each other, so that we can talk, so that we can support, so that we can become friends. I mean, that's how Christoph and I became friends, is in one of my groups, and he's an amazing guy that is just leading the field, and so he agrees with me in the sense that look at his coaching. I mean, CPF Coaching. So he's wanting the world to change as well. He knows it, and I know it. The world is in need of a major change, and so that is the future needs are. We need to adopt a technology system that is uniform, in the sense that, like I said earlier, if we are moving from one organization to another due to being unhappy, due to life change, due to anything, we can immediately pick up the system. We don't have to relearn it again, and we can integrate security into the system immediately upon entering our new jobs. Yes, that's going to be a tall order for companies, because obviously you're dealing with, as I said earlier in my speech, competitors in which they're all trying to make profit. And so that competition has driven, yes, great innovation, but at the same time, it's caused some, as we've seen, problems due to the fact that cybersecurity is now at a point where we're no longer able to completely protect what needs to be protected. We're seeing hospitals be hit, we're seeing banks be hit, we're seeing all sorts of institutions that protect data, such as the, gosh, what was the Norton LifeLock? I mean, that was an organization that was created after the hack of the social security numbers and the IRS. And it's just, this is data that we no longer can protect. So first of all, that needs to change. We need to find a new method of identification, and we need to collaborate and integrate and work together in order to make sure that we're no longer in silos. We're no longer dealing with people that have knowledge beyond anything in the world and haven't shared it because they can't. We have to share this knowledge. We have to spread it around. We have to ensure that the protection of these systems is worldwide. And that itself, like I said, is a tall order due to competition, due to state actors, due to obviously tensions between different governments. It's going to take people like us, people that have worked in the industry. So I've been in the industry now 20 years. Well, 14 years, sorry. And I've managed servers since I was 11 years old. So I've seen the evolution not really change at all. And that's kind of what's scary to me at this point, and that I'm dealing with the same servers now at 40 years old that I was dealing with at 11. And that is a very, just a very insignificant change could make a very, very powerful statement to the cybersecurity community. Obviously, like I said, I believe quantum and AI are going to be huge portions to this change, and therefore I'm putting a lot of backing into those. I'm also putting a lot of backing into what I believe dark kryptonite can do. I'm as well putting a lot of backing into collaboration, because without that, we have nothing. We are in an area where we're just stuck alone again and dealing with our own problems, not having the ability to ask anybody and not having the ability to spread that knowledge outside of the organization that we're actually in. So the cybersecurity community needs to adopt this as much as anybody else, because at the same time, they do have the fears still of AI. I've witnessed it myself in my own groups that we have people that are still very afraid of it. I mean, we have the fear of Terminator, of Skyline, of all these systems. We're not there yet. So the current process of AI, as I said, is deep learning. If it was actually fully autonomous machine learning, in which the machine is itself teaching itself and learning in itself, that's a very different situation. But at the same time, you have to think that is going to take quite a while, because it will have to develop as a human brain develops, or as a, maybe not as a human brain, but at least as a brain develops. And therefore it will take a progression of steps in order to get to a intelligence that's great enough to think in terms of being able to protect, being able to hack, being able to do anything. It'll be basically a baby when it starts, and then you'll have to teach it and teach it and teach it and teach it. And that's to a degree what they're doing with deep learning. It's just they're not integrating it to where it's an autonomous thought. There's still a human being behind it. And that's where the difference comes in. And that is why we're currently needing to support it, because that human being is your protection. I mean, that is where you're going to experience the most protection in every aspect, because they are able to determine if the artificial intelligence is going to be a good or a bad influence on the future. Obviously, there's ways to determine if this is possible, but it's going to take a lot of collaboration in which to do so. And so I look forward to the future, but at the same time, I do see, with the current situation being the way it is, a potential for that future to be very scary at the same time. I have hope, so I don't let that overwhelm my desire for the AI succeed. So at this point, I guess I would like to take some questions to get some more talking points. Are there any questions?
It looks like Paul mentioned that there was a portable quantum computer for under $10,000, so it's becoming quite feasible for companies to purchase it at that price. Any recommendations? You're on mute right now. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes, there is one available for $15,000 at the moment, and it's very scary because that's going to change the world's mathematical calculations. I would think that Malik's probably cost around that, and so it's revolutionary that they're developing computers that just came out that are, I mean, a supercomputer costs $500 million. And so these computers are going into different dimensions and creating mathematical calculations at infinitely higher speeds, and they're very cheap. So it is going to be a system in which we are able to see cybersecurity both fail and succeed. And my thoughts on it are, I'm glad that it's that cheap, because we need to see development. We need to see the science actually improve. But
It said, will there be a point where AI takes over cybersecurity jobs?
all cybersecurity jobs? Or just some? Yes, there will be a point in which AI is definitely going to take over. However, like I said, at this point, no. That's not something that could even possibly be done, because of the fact that a human being has to be behind it in order to get the AI to function. But it's in a situation that is very different than itself.
Well, I don't see any other questions. So Aaron, I want to thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
No, I just want to thank everybody, like Simon and everybody else, for contributing and making this a success, because Malik's, Angelique's, everybody's talks was great. We're great. And I appreciate being on. I appreciate everything. And Christoph, thank you very much for everything.
It's been a pleasure, sir. Well, all thank you very much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, I'm heading